Well, folks, I know I'm doing another video today. It makes three. um, yeah, actually, I just got some bombshell news. I figure I'd come up here and talk about it a little bit. Actually, well, it was kind of weird. I just got done laying on my acupressure mat and pillow. I felt really good, and yes, I was a good girl and did my yoga this morning, or while I was cooking my soup, basically. um, really did some really good stretches with that. But yeah, I don't know. Possum was acting really weird, and she was just all over me and everything. I'm like, okay, I'll sit down, pet you, this and that and everything. I don't know. I just got that funny feeling where I needed to um, um, look at my tablet. And I seen I had a message there through my Facebook Messenger, and I seen it was my cousin. Bit unusual. She's actually my second cousin on my mom's side, and she was telling me that her dad, basically my first cousin, passed away, and I was just like, "What?" He's actually he was much older than me. I think he was like 65, something like that, 65, 66, something like that. I know he was about 16 years older. I think he would have been 66 in October. Never got a chance to meet him. This is one of those circumstances. Well, kind of give you a little bit of background history with my mom's side of the family. I know I mentioned yesterday in video that my mom, grew up very, very poor, south side of Chicago. The reason why is because of her mother. Her mother was a very abusive woman, alcoholic, and so forth. I suspect she was probably also into other things, but that's another story. Uh, just based off my own experiences with um, living in this town. For those of you who don't know, I live in Vegas. Um, my experiences with dealing with drug addicts and so forth, drug addicts and alcoholics, I kind of suspect that she was probably into that as well a little bit, especially with growing up listening to the stories about the abuse and so forth. So, anyway, and there's more to it all and everything too. This is a woman who basically had 11 children, and who knows how many different fathers, even though she was married twice. So anyway, she yeah, and she basically pretty much sent both of her husbands to insane asylums because of her activities. But anyway, in her abusiveness, she was one of those women who actually abused men too. So yeah, that's my reason for being the way that I am, having kind of. I'm gonna close this door a minute. For having kind of um, high standards, high morals, and so forth, um, because of situations that we all had to deal with her and everything. So anyway, yeah, unfortunately, one of her older daughters, mostly she had girls. One of her older daughters, um, she had gotten pregnant. It was a rape, basically, when she was a teenager, and she, um, this is back in the 50s, and had to was this of course before Roe v. Wade and everything, and sent was sent off to a girls' school, one of those schools that teenage girls were sent off to back in those days. And at during that time, my grandmother had a her last child, basically, and unfortunately, he was a hemophiliac, and he was outside playing, basically riding his tricycle, and he was hit by an older gentleman. And because he was a hemophiliac, he wound up bleeding out. Well, that kind of sent my grandmother off into a tizzy, of course, and especially since this was happening while trying to make decisions as far as what to do about this new baby and everything. And so, in the process, my grandmother wound up taking this child in as her own, and basically sent her daughter off to boarding school, basically. It's a little fuzzy as far as the stories are concerned because I've heard different stories or what have you. But basically, during those years, she was trying to replace her child with the new child, who was basically my cousin who just passed away. And my mom and him were about the same age. Um, well, my mom was 6 years older. When my aunt became of age, she had decided there's no way in hell that her child was going to be raised in that environment. So she basically filed the paperwork to have him um, adopted out. And he wound up growing up he was about 4 at the time, something like that. And he wound up being raised in a very good home, and so forth. And my um, and my aunt, she had tried to, research records and so forth, try and maybe possibly reconnect with him, especially after becoming when she knew that he would be an adult and everything. But unfortunately, um, records were sealed. So fast forward to a few years ago, I think it was 2018 or something like that. 2018, 2019, something like that. One of my other aunts, who most of the kids that my grandmother had were adopted or fostered out by her first husband, actually, um, before he was cremated. My understanding, anyway, with stories that have been told, anyway. But anyway, one of my aunts who was adopted into a really, really good home, um, she had reached out to me. Um, there was a reunion, with most of the siblings and so forth many years ago, like back in the 90s, when everybody was finding each other and so forth. But anyway, when my aunt, she had my one aunt, she had reached out to me, and I hadn't really spoken with most of the people from that side of the family for years. There's a lot of family drama and so forth, and I just didn't want to be in the middle of it. And unfortunately, though, I kind of became the record keeper as far as the family history is concerned, as much as what I could know, find out, and so forth. Things that are accurate anyway, because there's a lot of circumspection, and yeah, no. So anyway, she had reached out to me, and I didn't know that she had submitted for ancestry DNA test. She wanted to find out information, possibly about her father, and I had no idea because I had also done it just like maybe a couple of weeks after her, so that way I could possibly find out information about my grandfather, because there's a lot of things that we're not even still yet we're still not entirely too sure if the man that my mom's birth certificate is actually was my mom's father or not. So that was my grandmother's second husband. So anyway, yeah. um but I at least wanted to get one rumor possibly settled, and it did. So um, that possibility basically was eliminated. So anyway, she had reached out to me. She was just like, "Hey, do you know if uh, my mother, your grandmother, my grandmother, if she had any siblings that had adopted out a child in 1959?" And I'm thinking to myself, because my grandmother was the second to the youngest child, and the youngest one, I knew that she hadn't. She was only like 16 at the time and living in California and Fresno, actually. And but she was saying it would have been a child born in 1959, born at Cook County Hospital. Like, what? No. And I knew at that point all of my grandmother's older siblings, I mean, the girls, all their wells were dried up, and I knew that none of the boys had or anything. I'm just like, no, I don't know of anybody. And she just telling me that she had been reached out by somebody where it was showing in the how the the DNA was matching up. It was a potential first cousin. And I'm just like, what? I have no idea. Well, then when I got my results back, he was showing up as a possible second cousin, but it was showing her as a potential first cousin. And that's when things clicked. And I'm like, oh, crud, I think I know who this is. The one who was adopted out. And, as far as the other aunt is concerned. And I'm trying not to name any names here, okay? And I'm just like, it's got to be him. So anyway, what we wound up doing is I had to reach out to that aunt, and which I wasn't looking forward to because she tends to be a real drama queen. And I was just like, and I haven't spoken to her in like 40 years. And I'm like, oh, great. So I reached out to her, and unfortunately, her phone number had changed, of course. It's basically just the area code, so I knew she was still at the same house, so I sent a letter. And we talked about it and everything. And I'm like, hey, look, I'll even pay for it if you want to do this and everything, and so on and so forth. So that's what I did. I was making pretty good money at the time, and so forth. And her and her husband retired, living off of Social Security pensions and so forth. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of money, and I'm like, hey, I'll pay for this. And she's like, no, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, no, I want to. She's like, okay. So I paid for the DNA test, had it sent directly to her, and it came back positive that this was her son. So it was very surreal, and I still had a toy that my mom had kept um, of his, because they were pretty much being raised like brother and sister, really, because they were only 6 years apart. For me, he's like 16 years older. Um, so in many ways, over the years, I can't help, because of the huge age gap, I couldn't help but think of him as being like more of an uncle. I spoke to him a few times. Sad part is I was really hoping I'd have a chance to meet him, since how I was the one who kind of hooked everything up and so forth. But of course, no, I'm not going to have that chance. I actually feel a little bit closer to his daughter, who I was just talking to, actually. Um, she, because her and I are a lot closer in age. I think she was born in 82. I was born in 74. And but yeah, I didn't know it, but well, his wife had passed away, lung cancer. She was a big time smoker shortly after he had met his mom. Um, um, and everything. I'm just happy that they had that opportunity. Yeah, I know that they're reunited now and everything, and now all of his questions are being answered, and so forth. Um, but and I know that one day we'll be reunited or united, I guess, and I'll have a chance to meet him. But yeah, it's but yeah. Anyway, I found out that he had actually been battling colon cancer, which I didn't know. Normal, typical with the side of the family, nobody talks to each other. Huge family on that side. Most of them never met, for of course reasons I just explained. But yeah, and unfortunately, those of us who actually do know each other, we don't talk to each other. So, but yeah, yeah, like I said, I didn't know he had been battling colon cancer, and he had actually just been diagnosed with stomach cancer, which is quite ironic because my mom had stomach cancer also for a while. She beat it. She actually battled and beat cancer twice in her life, um, and she actually wound up dying of a stroke. Basically, boiled down to 30 years as a diabetic, even though she took very good care of herself. Still, yet, at some point, all you can do is maintain it, and at some point, it's going to take over. So, yeah, the big lesson is to if there is possibly family, that you care about or what have you, um, reach out to them, let them know that you care about them, talk to them more. Um, I guess that's the big lesson there, you know. Um, I don't know. Maybe in the process, it might bring my second cousin, and I don't know. I don't know. There's obviously we've never met either, and yeah, probably not. But yeah, like I said, if you have family, friends, what have you that you're close to, reach out to them, talk to them, let them know that you love them. Okay. So, yeah, I just wanted to come up here. I just needed to, basically, what it boils down to. I just wanted to come up here and talk. That's what the whole point of this is for me to talk, get things out, live your life as much as you can. Live right now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just right now. Okay. So anyway, yeah, like I said, I just wanted to come up here and um, just talk it out. So anyway, I love you all. I'm gonna go get a shower and get back to work. I'll talk at you tomorrow. Love you.